Hot dog, Subaru vs. Kazuma had 6 animators. It had Josh Poor scoring with Brandon Yates on vocals, Jobber editing, it had D-Light animation directing, Sean Chiplock voicing Subaru. I just know that in the behind the scenes, there were no production issues at all and everybody did exactly what they were supposed to. That's not true, is it? Anyways, roll the intro.
Behind the scenes with Levi.
Hi guys, my name's Levi. I animate for Nebula Theater and Death Battle and a few other things. Don't let the intro throw you off. I think everybody did a stellar job on this in general. This is some of the best versus content out there right now. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back because, like, you can just look in the description of the video, you see how many people had to come together in order to make this happen. It wasn't any one particular person. Subaru vs. Kazuma has a couple of isekai protagonists that we really wanted to get correct. We really wanted to get them right, and we really wanted to give everybody in the episode a moment to shine, and it did come together eventually. It came together really well, it just took a lot of time to get there. One thing I think is really cool about Nebula Theater so far is that we do have a specific thread in the Discord called the Animation Critique Center, and the only reason this chat exists is for animators to upload their work in progresses and then get criticism from other animators. Whether you've been animating for 1 year or 10 years, you can learn something from somebody else on the team. It's a fun little chat. It's a fun little chat with a bunch of talented people in there, and making sure the end product is the best that it can be. That's not to say that production was super smooth, though. One of the things that made the episode a little bit difficult for the animation team was that there weren't storyboards initially. We do have storyboards going forward on episodes of Nebula Theater. There are several being worked on right now, as a matter of fact. But for this episode in particular, we just didn't have storyboards. We didn't do storyboards at Smash Bracket when I was animation director for that Versus show either. So this wasn't really anything new to me. Also not new to any of the other animators as well. I mean, you've got Edgy, Sun God, Origin, D-Light, all these people have worked before without storyboards, so it wasn't a huge deal, but we kind of had to get creative with the way that we would approach our shots. The difficult thing about not having storyboards and not having that sort of cohesion is that it's a little difficult to know at what point in the fight it's at when you're assigned these certain shots for the animation. I recall a couple of times people weren't sure if Beatrice was grounded or in the air. And that was a point of contention that we had to fix in revisions. There were several times where I in particular, who having not seen either of these series all the way through, I wanted to make sure that I got the characters right, but not having the storyboard sort of meant I just had to look at the series in particular to know how to approach that, know how to approach framing and all that good stuff. Like I said earlier, one of the things that was really important to both D-Light and Plime, who wrote this script, was that each character gets a really cool moment to shine. With a character like Subaru specifically, I believe the idea was originally to give him more revives throughout the fight, and that there were going to be sort of revives on both sides, since that's one of the points of contention with this matchup. And as they were going through it, with these revives and like trying to write those into the script and work those in, it's not as special as if it happens one time and it's capitalized on. So they went with the decision to have Subaru revive only one time, and then they were going to have something similar happen with Kazuma. Couldn't really do that because reviving is more tailored to Subaru specifically, and it's more in his nature to do in a battle like this. So they wanted to give Kazuma a really cool moment too, which is where Explosion came into play. They wanted him to cast Explosion since he hasn't done that in the show. I believe Plime's words were, doing cool shit and blowing motherfuckers up. Interesting behind the scenes fact about this, the fight does start in media res, meaning the fight is already going on and we don't see the setup. Originally, the script was planned to start in media res as we see, and then Subaru was supposed to, when he revives, go back in time and you see the setup from there, which was a really unique idea that unfortunately again would break pacing. It would make it feel sort of like Subaru has an unnatural advantage going into it, and that he just kind of has control over where he goes and when he attacks, which is why we return to just the original beginning, as you see in the final product. And look, man, I could yap about animation all day, but like, As a Versus show, man, Nebula Theater, we're not perfect, but we're growing, and we're excited about what the future holds. We've got an established pipeline. We've got a lot of stuff cooking up that's starting to look really, really cool. So yeah, we've got our growing pains, and we definitely have some like hiccups in production, small things, but there hasn't been an issue yet that we can't solve. Plime is a really good leader. You know, I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it. Plime is a really good leader. And he's determined to see this thing through, and he really, really wants to do justice to any character that comes to Nebula Theater. He thinks it's really important both to tell their stories properly and to portray them well in the fight, let them do a bunch of cool stuff. So I think you guys are going to be really pleased with what's to come. I did want to mention that our friend Josh Poor, who scored the entirety of this, rumor has it he's on the line and wants to say a few things about the music and how he went about scoring this episode. So Josh Poor, if you're with us, I'll turn it over to you. Let us know how you approached the music of this episode.
Hello everyone, my name is Josh Poor. I am a composer for Nebula Theater, and I wrote the track, or the instrumental for the track, New Leash on Life, which is the soundtrack for the episode Kazuma vs. Subaru. For this one, I actually didn't see the animation. For the other track I've done thus far, which is EXE vs. Kara, and then another episode that I'm working on right now that I don't know if it's revealed yet, so I'm not going to say it. For this one, I didn't. I think the track, or the animation, was kind of fit around the track, which is new for me, but it came out really well, so I'm not going to complain. The only clear direction I was given was to have kind of a light-hearted intro, and then it gets more tense as it goes on, and to have a part here, spoiler for the animation, slight spoiler for the animation, to have a kind of break in the middle of the track where Subaru dies and then returns by death. So I started with the drums. Starting with drums is always a good thing to do in music. I was told in the beginning that it would have kind of a chase in the beginning, so I knew I wanted to have really energetic drums to kind of accent that, and then from there I could kind of go back to building the energy back up from something smaller. Just energetic drums. You get the idea. If you think of writing a song like building a house, the percussion is like the walls and the ceiling and the floor. It's good to start with that in a lot of cases. And from there, I went through a few iterations of rhythm guitar patterns, but I finally settled on this just to kind of set the tone for the rest of the composition, what it'll sound like. That's pretty much how it goes. It just keeps repeating that. So from there, I wrote a piano sketch of what I wanted pretty much everything else to sound like. Starting with a piano sketch is good because you get a clear, full view of what the composition is going to look like, and then you can start assigning it to instruments and orchestrating it. But I really like this piano sketch so much that I just kept it in the final product. And then you add in the orchestra to that, and the lead guitars, and some synths, and you get this section. This 25 seconds of just that section took about a day of work. The early stages of a track are always the hardest because you're picking sounds, you're picking guitar tones, all this, and then the rest, a lot of the, when you get to the further down the track, a lot of the pieces you want are already there for you. So I started it really intense, really high energy, and then for this next section I went for something pretty chill. I wanted to have a kind of really natural buildup of energy over the course of the track. Just kind of laid back, lighthearted. Just that kind of gentle guitar strumming, that easy melody. And then I bring in this piano solo. So a fun fact about this melody that you hear throughout the track in different forms and variations. For those of you who are familiar with the work of Brandon Yates, which I'm sure most people watching this probably are, we did a collaboration on one of his commissions called At Your Service, which also involved ReZero characters. And this melody here is a scrapped guitar part that was going to be one of the main melodies of that track before I scrapped it. So I figured I'd just repurpose it here, especially since Brandon is on this track. I knew he was going to be on it at this point. And then this next section was inspired specifically by the Konosuba track. I think it's called The Masked Man in Top Form or something like that. And in that track you have kind of these guitar riffs, and then you have these string staccatos, so like a zun, 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 zun. Pretty much bar for bar what I did here. Really effective, works really well. It still retains the same kind of fun and whimsical upbeat feel that the prior verse had, but it does feel a little bit more driving. It feels a little bit more the next step from fun to kind of tense. And then it goes into the guitar solo. I felt before the kind of pause in the track, it would be nice to have a guitar solo to kind of cap off the what I call the Konosuba half of the track. So this is where the track kind of gets divided. So I have this much more somber kind of outro from this half. That same melody as before is there, but it's more somber. And you have this really heartbreaking ending there as Subaru dies. That's pretty much note for note the intro to At Your Service by Brandon Yates and I. So, and then this was a big moment because this is when Subaru comes back to life. And on many levels, this was an important part of the track for me to get right, because I knew this is the part Brandon was going to go the hardest on. I knew this is the part where I wanted to have another At Your Service reference. I know this was a very climactic part of the animation, so beyond just a meta level, this was obviously important to the animation, and this was going to be kind of his moment. So there was a lot riding on this section, and for the most part, I think I got it right. I do like how that came out. I kind of took the Konosuba orchestration and gave it a ReZero tone, is kind of what I did here. Because I didn't want to alter the track too much, so if you listen to this section, where is it? And then this one. They're pretty similar in terms of how they're arranged and such, but the mood is very different, and that's kind of the what I wanted to capture there. The chorus in its second appearance, I'm pretty sure is exactly the same as in its first. I'm pretty sure I just copy pasted the parts, which is obviously really common when you're repeating a section. But because of what it's surrounded by, it gets completely recontextualized, and I think that was a really cool effect. To where you get a different payoff. It hits different, so to speak. So I thought that was a nice touch. After this section, I kind of wanted a build-up to the ending. I kept the intensity of pretty much everything the same except the drums. I reined those in a lot. And since the drums are such a driving force in the rest of the track, since they're usually so energetic, you get a lot of that same intensity, but it feels a lot more reined in, and because of that, it feels weightier, and it feels more sad. You get that same melody from before, but it's in a much more dire and tense context. And from there, you get the ending. And the ending, I just figured, well, At this point, I knew, spoilers for the episode, at this point, I knew Subaru won. So, what I decided was I would bring back the same section from the Return by Death bit, and I would just replace the melody with something a little bit more frenetic, with a little bit more chaotic. So, whereas the melody before, the one that's a reference to At Your Service, is more streamlined, more easy to understand, this one on the piano is a bit more crazy. And you hear it in context. In music, there's a lot of times where you can add impact by removing things, and I think that's pretty interesting. I think this is a case where I definitely did that. I kind of took away some of the intensity from the track, but because I took away the intensity from the main melody, the intensity of all the surrounding elements get more focus. When you contrast those really intense elements with the piano, which, because it's a piano, is not super loud and blaring, and it's just kind of delicately falling up and down the scales, that contrast makes the other elements even more intense. But, yeah. A little fun fact about this ending here is that the orchestra was supposed to play it as well. But the director felt that sounded a bit too much like Konosuba, so I replaced it with the synth, and I'm just keeping this here anyway, in case we do an alternate ending version, like we did for Sonic EXE versus Kara. The track originally ended here, but then when they got closer to making the animation, they kind of gave me some more details on what the ending was like, and so I just added this little piano bit at the end to kind of play it out, kind of highlight the darkness of Kazuma's death, because it is pretty dark, and I just kind of made it fade out for a really long time because I didn't know how long the animation was going to be. Yeah, so that's pretty much the track. So I'm just kind of focused on the conceptual level this time. If I do another one of these, I'd love to know what people would like to know about my process, or, you know, how I come up with ideas and stuff like that. And yeah, of course, big thanks to everyone who listened to the track. Big thanks to Brandon for helping out. I am very frequently humbled by the opportunity to write the music for this show. I think it's so fun, and there's only been 2 episodes so far, so I can't wait to see where we go from here. Look forward to Zim versus Crypto, if that's announced right now, because that one's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really liking what's being cooked up for that track.
Yay! Thank you, Josh Poor. I just watched that entire thing that I haven't edited yet. That looked great. One more thing from somebody whom I'm sure you're eager to hear from. None other than Plime himself. I'm sure he'd love to say a few things about the episode. Plime, if you're there, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey everyone, this is the voice of Nils, Plime, or Tristan, whatever you want to call me, showrunner for Nebula Theater, and I just want to thank everyone who lent their expertise to this production, because it was not an easy time, but we all got together and somehow pulled this off. So I would like to start with our beautiful voice actors. The voice of Subaru was Sean Chiplock. He is the main voice of Subaru in the anime. My favorite line from him is probably the last line, because Subaru is such a positive guy who tries to hide the fact that he's miserable, but Beatrice is someone who can feel his emotions. So when Subaru's trying to tell her it's okay, he can tell it's not working, and then just goes, let's go back to Amelia. Kazuma was played by Flip D. Switch. I think my favorite part about his performance is just all the banter with Aqua whenever he gets, annoyed. I feel like Flip handles that perfectly. My favorite line especially being when he's just like, don't you think I know that's stupid? I love that kind of energy he brings. He killed it in my eyes. Jana Lynn Alonso played Beatrice and Eris. And similarly with Jingle de Leon, who played Aqua in Satella, these voices, when they were brought to me, are reminiscent more of the Japanese voice actors of Beatrice and Aqua than the English ones. That's what they did. So we got voices that are super reminiscent of the Japanese voice actresses, but in English, and I think that's really, really interesting to me. Jobber did all of Subaru's analysis at the beginning of the video and the conclusion. My favorite edit from Jobber is during the REM-if, where Subaru is sitting with his whole family. Somehow, with Jobber's insane skill, he made this one simple image of Subaru being with his family come to life in a way I've never seen. It jaw-dropped me when I saw it. It was just next level to me. I love it. Tropataku got an entire team of people at the end of the video to start making art for Kazuma's analysis, and I think that's really interesting. Put together these images in the pre-existing footage of Konosuba to make an interesting ending to Konosuba's analysis where it's all light novel material, it's all text, is really, really good. He really impressed me with this project. Nokia E Spiritual was on sprites, and my favorite fun fact about this is that he cried because he accidentally deleted part of Beatrice's twin drills, which means he had to resprite them by hand. I feel so bad for him. I wish that did not happen, but it's very funny. Also, Beatrice is the most complicated sprite he's ever designed with so many layers, but you can really see the end product. It looks freaking amazing. Fuzzy 101 did the promo art, and I mean, there's nothing else, not much to say about that. It just looks fucking fantastic. Originally, Kazuma's arm was bleeding from the crystal, and I had him adjust it because it just wasn't how the attack works. But dude, I'm keeping this guy on board as long as I can. He's so freaking good. The final picture, the thanks for watching picture, was actually done by a community member who went by the #1 Kazu Bro. So what's interesting about this is that he was originally not even a part of this project. He was reanimating the little snippet I shared on Discord as an update, the scene where Subaru is punching at Kazuma, and he was animating it in Blender. And to see someone who's this passionate about this matchup made me reach out and say, hey, listen, I want to include you in some way. Having a little ending shot where I essentially call it after filming, where it's the characters just chilling together like they just did a big-ass production. Because it's a theater, let's be real, this is a big-ass theater. It truly did make it feel more special, so good on you, my man, thank you so much. A big thank you to Josh Bohr and Brandon Yates for making an absolutely killer song. They both did an amazing job and probably made one of Josh's best songs he's ever made, I'm not gonna lie, it's so killer. Corby did the sound design, and one thing we needed from Kara X that was desperately lacking was the sound design. So I hired a specialist. He will be with us from now on, and he will make sure we don't fuck it up. Now we get to the animators. Start with Levi. I'm putting you on blast, Levi. My favorite scene from Levi is Subaru's shot, especially since the scene is fully his own. DJ Tiki did the post-visual work for every scene except for the Return by Death scene. That was all Levi. Fun fact, the scene, when he originally showed me it, of Subaru staring at the camera before closing his eyes, looked like he was faded as fuck. So I told him that, and then he sent me he sent me an image of that same picture, but with Subaru, who looking a little more faded, if you know what I mean. D-Light did a lot of heavy lifting in the background of this project. He was the one that went back through everyone's animation and made things more uniform. If somebody was missing the cape, he would add it in. If somebody didn't have the cape, he put a lot of passion, a lot of work into this. And in every single shot, you can kind of see his love in how he would adjust things. My favorite shot from Darker is when they're all running away from the Minya crystals, Kazuya and Aqua. The fact that we get to see these crystals coming down, Kazuma and Aqua both dodging, is really awesome. I really enjoyed it. Origin the Hero came onto this project last minute when we needed someone to fill a slot. So he ended up taking things at the Corleone scene, Subaru grabbing the insignia after getting hit by Create Water and things like that. There is no animation for this, so we had to go off of the descriptions in the light novel for how Corleones looked when he activated it, and that's what we did, and I think it came out amazingly. My favorite scene from Sun is the ice skating scene. Just look at this shit. Kazuma's just like kind of dodging away and over the ice, like skating like a motherfucker just to get by. It's so fun. And the goat Edgy Igot is my last boy. The punching scene is so funny when when he's like, Bayako, what kind of name is that? I know everyone's seen it probably a million times at this point, but just the faces he makes, it's so funny. The faces that were drawn originally by Project Alpha and adapted into the animation by Edgy. We have a wonderful team here. That animation critique center that we have is so freaking useful. And lastly, the biggest shout out right now is DJ Tiki for making everything look so good throughout the entire fight, even though almost the whole time it was a little unorganized and the files we sent weren't up to a normal standard. Let's just say that. He worked with us and all the bullshit and still came out with something that's amazing. My favorite post-vid shot being the explosion scene. The way the colors just swirl around him, and even when he puts his hand up, how you can see the colors invert. Every single one of these people, whether they were an artist, an animator, visual creation, music creation, or even just sprites and whatever, right? Every single person here is instrumental in a production like this. And I'm very proud in my team for getting this out, and I see a really, really bright future in Nebula Theater. So for me, as the guy running everything, I just want to make sure I thank them every single time they make some amazing shit for me. Because we do have something special here. And I know we can take this further and further every single time. So for those who support me, thank you. And I hope we live up to your expectations moving forward, because I know I'm going to work, and everyone's going to work damn hard to meet them. Have a good one.